All right, strap in, everyone. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a topic that's, well, it's a little out there, even for us. We're talking about Archons.
Archons, right.
And, you know, got to give a shout out to our listeners for this one. They've sent over a whole stack of YouTube videos, and get this, they're hypnosis sessions, all about these Archon beings.
Hypnosis sessions, huh?
And let me tell you, the descriptions from these sessions, wild. We're talking armored warriors, shape-shifting figures, glowing orbs, even a dragon-like entity popped up somewhere in there.
A dragon. Okay, now I'm intrigued. I mean, that's a lot of variety. It makes you wonder if they even have a consistent form, you know?
That's what I was thinking. Maybe instead of a fixed look, they kind of, I don't know, adapt their appearance based on who or what's looking at them.
It wouldn't be the strangest thing we've come across, that's for sure. And, that actually ties in with some of the stuff mentioned in these sessions about a seed of knowledge that each Archon supposedly carries.
Ah, yeah, the
Who's
seed of
that?
knowledge, like a cosmic library card or something.
Well, think less library card, more like they are the library. It's not just information they access, it's woven into their very being.
Okay, so potentially ancient beings with access to, well, everything. But how do they actually use this knowledge? They talk about telepathic communication, but it seems like it's only when absolutely necessary or when someone specifically asks for guidance.
Like they're waiting for us to call, huh?
Right. Cosmic advisors on call. Makes you wonder about free will, though, doesn't it? There's that one session, remember, where an Archon supposedly inhabits a human body, like takes over to help a military admiral make some big decision.
Oh, yeah, the Admiral. That was a wild one. Makes you wonder if we're really in the driver's seat or if there are forces nudging us along.
It's kind of creepy when you think about it like that. But then a lot of these sessions talk about Archons as soldiers of the universe, keeping everything in balance. That sounds more benevolent, at least.
Okay, but balance. What does that even mean in the grand scheme of things? And how does it apply to us down here on Earth? There was that one session where they were all hanging out in Antarctica, sending energy beams toward Asia and Europe.
Energy beams from Antarctica, that's specific.
Right. What was that about? Some kind of intervention, maybe? Trying to regulate things on a global scale?
Or maybe, and hear me out on this, Earth is just kind of messy. Lots of conflict, lots of drama. Maybe we're a hotspot on their cosmic radar, and they're the cleanup crew.
Interesting thought. If that's the case, what does that say about us, right? Are we the problem child of the universe?
Makes you think. But here's where things get even weirder. Most of these sessions, Archons are portrayed as the good guys, right? But then there are mentions of these lower-level entities, and they're not so nice. More into negativity, manipulation, even feeding off human suffering.
Oh, yeah, the bad apples. So much for universal harmony.
Right. But maybe it's not that simple. These sessions talk about a hierarchy in their society, right? But what if it's not about power, but more like levels of awareness, different vibes they're operating on?
Like, not all Archons are created equal. Some are top tier, dedicated to the mission, and others are. Well, maybe they're cutting corners, going rogue.
Exactly. But even with those rogue ones, the overall picture, at least from these hypnosis sessions, is surprisingly positive. It's like they're these guides, helping us evolve toward a higher level of consciousness.
And that evolution idea, that's key. Several sessions talk about Archons embodying this golden mean, perfect balance, perfect decision-making. What if that's what humanity is working towards? Like, they're showing us our potential future.
It's a trippy thought. Like they're holding up this mirror, showing us what we could be. But why are we even so fascinated by these Archons in the first place? Is it just curiosity, or is there something more going on?
Maybe it's that we sense there's more to reality than we see, more forces at play than we understand, a longing for something beyond our everyday lives, you know?
Like we're catching glimpses of this hidden layer of existence and trying to make sense of it. And these hypnosis sessions, as weird as they are, might be giving us a peek behind the curtain. But if these Archons can actually shape reality, like some of the sessions claim, what does that mean for our investigation? Whoa, hold on. You're hitting on something big there. Are we uncovering the truth, or are we influencing what we're finding?
Could just looking for information about Archons be shaping the narrative we're getting?
It's like a cosmic chicken and egg situation. Are we creating them by looking for them, or are they drawing us in? My head's spinning.
And that's the kind of question we need to be asking. Are we just along for the ride, or are we actively shaping this whole reality thing?
Okay, well, that's a lot to unpack already, and we haven't even scratched the surface of all the material we've got.
So we've talked about their appearance or lack thereof, and their potential role in, well, keeping the universe in check. But one thing that really jumped out at me from these sessions was the question of how many Archons are actually here on Earth. The answers were all over the map.
Yeah, some said 18, others said 54. It's like, how do you even count these things?
Right, like are we talking about a head count? Or is there something more nuanced going on? It might be helpful to think about it in terms of levels of interaction. Maybe some subjects are tapping into a core group that's directly involved with Earth, while others are picking up on a much wider network spread across dimensions.
So it's less about a fixed number and more about their level of involvement with us. Like maybe some of these sessions are tuning into the executive team of Archons, while others are seeing those handling more day-to-day Earth stuff.
Exactly. Like imagine a company, right, you've got your CEO making the big decisions, and then you've got a whole team of employees carrying out those orders. It might be that some of these hypnotic sessions are tuning into those big picture archons, while others are picking up on those working on specific tasks related to Earth.
That makes sense. But it still leaves us with the question of, well, where are they operating from? This whole everywhere and nowhere simultaneously thing, that doesn't exactly give us an address to send a postcard to.
No, it doesn't. And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles we face when trying to understand these beings. We're so used to thinking in terms of physical locations, concrete boundaries. But these archons, they seem to exist outside of those limitations.
It's like trying to draw a map of a dream.
Right.
The landscape keeps shifting, the rules don't make sense.
Exactly. And that's why it's so crucial to remember that we're dealing with beings that potentially exist beyond the limitations of our three-dimensional reality. Trying to pin them down to a specific location might be like trying to capture lightning in a bottle.
Okay, but even if they don't have a physical headquarters, they seem to be drawn to certain places, right? Particularly places with a lot of conflict, a lot of energetic tension.
That's right. Several sessions mention that archons are drawn to those areas almost like moths to a flame. But instead of light, they're attracted to the heat of discord, the clash of opposing forces. It's almost as if they're drawn to those places to try and regulate those energies, prevent them from spiraling out of control.
So they're like cosmic firefighters, putting out fires wherever they pop up.
That's an interesting way to think about it. And if Earth, with all its history of conflict and environmental turmoil, is considered a hotspot, it makes sense that they'd be paying close attention.
So maybe those energy beams directed at Asia and Europe, maybe that wasn't some kind of hostile act, but more like a, I don't know, a cosmic acupuncture treatment, a way to rebalance the planet's energy flow.
I like that analogy. It's a more benevolent interpretation, and it aligns with what many of the sessions describe about archons being forces for harmony and balance.
It's a good reminder that we shouldn't always jump to the most alarming conclusion, right? There might be more going on than we realize, especially when we're dealing with things that operate outside our normal understanding of reality.
Absolutely. And speaking of things outside our normal understanding, let's talk about those symbols associated with archons. Upside-down triangles, hexagons with hooks, spirals, a square with wings. It's like a cosmic bingo card of weirdness.
Yeah, what's with all the cryptic imagery? Do we need to break out a cosmic decoder ring to figure this out?
Maybe not a decoder ring, but we definitely need to expand our thinking when it comes to how these beings might be communicating. Symbols can hold a lot of meaning, a lot of power, especially in a realm that goes beyond language as we know it.
So we need to think less about a literal translation and more about the energy behind the symbols, the concepts they're trying to convey.
Precisely. Remember, we're dealing with beings that potentially operate outside the confines of our linear logical thinking. Their communication might be more symbolic, more intuitive, more based on feeling and resonance than on direct verbal expressions.
So instead of trying to translate their language, we need to try and feel it, sense it.
Exactly. And that's where things get tricky, because how do we know if we're picking up on genuine information or just projecting our own interpretations onto these symbols?
Right. It's like, is this symbol a real insight into Archon communication, or is it just a random image that popped into someone's head during hypnosis? How do we tell the difference?
That's where discernment comes in. We need to look for patterns, for recurring themes and motifs across multiple sources. We also need to be mindful of our own biases, our own preconceived notions, and be willing to question even the things that seem most profound or convincing.
So it's like navigating a cosmic minefield, constantly needing to watch our step and be careful about what we accept as truth.
In a way, yes. But it's also what makes this exploration so exciting. The more we challenge our assumptions, the more we open ourselves up to the vastness and mystery of the universe. And who knows, maybe in the process we'll uncover some truths about ourselves as well.
That's a good point. But now I think it's time to address the big question that's been looming over this whole conversation. Can these soldiers of the universe, these supposed guides for humanity, actually be not evil? I mean, it's one thing to think about them as these cosmic caretakers nudging us towards balance, but to think that some of them might be actively messing with us, using our fear and suffering to their advantage, sure, that's a whole other level of disturbing.
I hear you. It definitely raises some red flags, especially when you consider the power they supposedly wield. But remember, even with those darker aspects, the overall message from these hypnosis sessions leans towards a more benevolent nature, at least when it comes to the higher level archons.
Right, the top brass.
Hmm.
But what about those lower level entities? Are they just rogue agents, or is there something more to their, well, their not so nice behavior?
It's a good question. And I think it ties into this idea of duality, a concept that pops up in a lot of spiritual traditions, light and shadow, good and evil, yin and yang. It's like you can't have one without the other.
So you're saying these potentially malevolent archons, these troublemakers, might actually serve a purpose. That seems a bit counterintuitive, to say the least.
Think of it this way. Would we ever grow? Would we ever learn and evolve if we didn't face challenges? Would we even appreciate the good without experiencing the bad? Maybe these so-called negative entities, even in their darkness, are providing the contrast that helps us see the light more clearly.
So they're like, I don't know, those fitness trainers who push us to our limits, even if it means making us sweat and cry a little.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that even those things we perceive as negative, even painful experiences can contain valuable lessons. They can force us to confront our limitations and discover hidden strengths.
It's like a cosmic boot camp.
Yeah.
Not exactly my idea of fun, but I get the point.
Yeah.
But it also brings us back to this idea of our own role in this whole cosmic dance. We're not just passive observers, right?
Exactly. We have a part to play in this. Remember those sessions where they talked about these lower-level entities feeding off human fear and suffering? It suggests that we might actually be contributing to their power, their influence, by giving into negativity.
So it's not just about archons acting upon us. It's about the energy we're putting out into the universe attracting certain forces. It's a two-way street.
That's a great way to put it. It's like tuning a radio. If you're constantly broadcasting a signal of fear and anxiety, you're more likely to pick up stations that are playing the same tune.
Okay, so if we want to connect with those higher-level archons, the guides and mentors, we need to change the channel, so to speak. We need to raise our vibration, become more like the kind of energy we want to attract. But how do we actually do that? It's easy to say, raise your vibration, but how do we make that happen in real life?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But these hypnosis sessions, they do offer some clues. A lot of them emphasize self-awareness, questioning our assumptions, examining our beliefs. It's about cultivating a discerning mind, one that can filter through the noise and recognize truth, even when it comes in strange packages.
So it's like we need to become our own cosmic fact checkers, learning to spot the difference between genuine insight and, well, cosmic clickbait.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that not everything we encounter, even in altered states of consciousness, is necessarily true or beneficial.
It's a lot of responsibility, but also pretty empowering when you think about it. We have more agency than we realize. But it also makes you wonder, what if we're not just influencing our own personal realities? What if, by raising our vibration, we're contributing to something much bigger?
Now you're getting into some really interesting territory. What if this whole evolution of consciousness thing isn't just about individual growth, but about something happening on a cosmic scale?
Wait, are we talking about, like, the creation of entire universes here?
Maybe. I mean, think about it. A lot of ancient creation myths talk about higher beings shaping the cosmos. What if those stories aren't just myths? What if we're tapping into something real, something profound?
Whoa, that's mind-blowing. So maybe all those sci-fi stories about advanced civilizations seeding life on other planets, maybe those aren't so far-fetched after all.
Exactly. And that's what I find so exciting about exploring these topics. They push us to question our assumptions, to reconsider our place in the grand scheme of things, to acknowledge that there's still so much we don't know about the universe and our role within it.
It's humbling, but also exhilarating. And I think it's a perfect note to end on. We've gone from armored warriors to shape-shifting energy beings, from cosmic cleanup crews to the potential architects of reality itself. It's been quite a ride.
It has. But as with any good deep dive, we're left with more questions than answers. But maybe that's the point. It's about embracing the mystery, the unknown, the vastness of what's still out there waiting to be discovered. It's about recognizing that we're part of something much larger than ourselves, something that continues to unfold in ways we can only begin to imagine.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into the world of Archons. But remember, listeners, this isn't the end of the conversation. Keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. Who knows what other mysteries await us as we continue to explore the hidden layers of reality?